The lore of the Virtua Fighter series has never been in plain view. Though well hidden, there is a storyline with compelling characters and profound insights waiting to be discovered by those willing to search them out. Based on popular request, I've decided to continue this series of videos by exploring the Virtua Fighter universe through the eyes of Jacky Bryant, expert martial artist and racing extraordinaire. In this installment, we will explore Jacky's significance to the Virtua Fighter series, his character design, backstory, and some of his signature fighting moves. Let's get into it.
You'd better be ready!
It may come as a bit of a surprise to fans of Virtua Fighter that Akira Yuki was not always intended to be the franchise's main protagonist. In fact, the character that was originally planned as the flagship face of the Virtua Fighter series was none other than the Indy 500 race car driver, Jacky Bryant. To understand why, we need to take a brief look at the history of Virtua Fighter's early development. Virtua Fighter was created during a time when 3D video game development was still in its infancy. Despite being credited as one of the most innovative titles to lead the gaming industry's charge in this genre, it was not Sega AM2's first foray into 3D games, or even the first game to be created using the Sega Model 1 hardware. Yu Suzuki, former head of video game development team AM2, was a fan of fighting games and publicly expressed his admiration for titles such as Fatal Fury and Samurai Showdown. From the outset, he wanted to create a 3D game that utilized human movement, but due to difficulties associated with heavy processing, the first project made would be a driving game. The Formula 1 racing title, Virtua Racer, was a success and became one of the most influential 3D racing games of all time. The experience gained from this project led AM2 to split into two departments, with 10 members working on Virtua Fighter for the Model 1 hardware, and a smaller contingent working on Daytona USA for the newer Model 2 board. Understanding the relationship between Virtua Fighter and Virtua Racer makes it easier to see why Jacky Bryant was the logical first choice as the lead role. The close history between these two games has caused many to speculate that Virtua Racer and Virtua Fighter share the same universe, and that Jacky Bryant may secretly have been one of the competitors of Virtua Racer. Though Akira became the main focus of the series in order to appeal to Japanese consumers, since Virtua Fighter was scheduled for release in Japan first, Jacky Bryant can be considered just as popular in his own right. It seems as though wherever Akira goes, Jacky is close behind him. His appearances alongside Akira span across many games and systems, including Fighter's Megamix on the Sega Saturn, serving as a selectable racer with Akira as his passenger in Sega All-Stars Racing, his entry as a playable character in Dead or Alive 5 Ultimate and Last Round, and even being given a costume Mii Fighter skin with Akira in Super Smash Bros. On the Wii U. Jacky's popularity seems to stem from his character design. His spiky head, love of speed, impatience for anything slow, brash 90s attitude, and unshakable confidence in his own abilities are all very similar to that of Sonic the Hedgehog. The parallels don't end there. Just as Sonic is given the moniker the Blue Blur, Jacky is often referred to as the Blue Flash, in reference to the fact that he never seems to lose his cool, but strikes like lightning without warning.
I'm faster than lightning!
He is also well known for his cheesy dialogue that has been recycled through many games. Rather than becoming infamous for this, Jacky's campy voice acting has been embraced by fans as something that has made him all the more endearing.
Time for you.
Got no time for you.
Got no time for you.
And then he whips out his hand.
I want to see some guy in
whips out his
Japan
hand.
just get up from his fucking chair and play this game. I got no time for you.
Yeah. It's like you're moving in slow motion.
It's like you're moving in slow motion. I love the cheese in this game so much, dude.
I'm really feeling
AM2 cheese.
Of his many campy catchphrases, the one that is used most is simply that of shouting, "Yeah!" at the crescendo of an attack.
Yeah! What? Yeah! Okay!
It's also worth mentioning that in the Virtua Fighter anime series, Jacky is portrayed as a hothead, susceptible to episodes of vehicular homicide.
Don't mess with the J-Man.
Jacky Bryant was born in the year 1970 in San Francisco, California. He began to make a name for himself in his early 20s as a professional IndyCar racer. His passion for racing can only be eclipsed by his love for his family and his dedication to his friends. The Bryant family appeared to be members of the wealthy upper class, possibly part of the philanthropic vieux riche of American society. For reasons that are unclear, the J6 Syndicate harbors a deep and abiding enmity toward the Bryant family. As the eldest child of the Bryants, Jacky is poised to inherit the family legacy, which is something he may or may not be too willing to accept, implied by his devotion to his racing career and refusal to rely on family money. In 1990, Jacky was competing in an Indianapolis 500 race that was secretly sabotaged by the J6 Corporation's henchmen. This resulted in being involved in a brutal crash that left Jacky in critical condition and nearly ended his life. He underwent 2 years of rehabilitation, part of which included martial arts training in Bruce Lee's philosophy of Jeet Kune Do. Jacky also studied Bruce Lee's mixed martial art of Jun Fan and practiced several moves from this style until mastery, proving to be a martial arts prodigy. With Sarah's assistance, he continued to investigate the crash until he felt fully recovered, when he discovered that it had been intentionally caused by J6. At the moment of this revelation, his sister, Sarah Bryant, mysteriously disappeared. After learning that J6 was sponsoring a world fighting tournament, Jacky joined as a competitor in order to continue his search for answers related to the enigmas of his crash and Sarah's disappearance. During this tournament, Jacky was not at his best physically or mentally. His body was still not restored to its full strength after 2 years of rehabilitation, and his mind was distracted by questions regarding the evil J6 Syndicate's involvement in his crash and his sister's disappearance. He encountered Sarah briefly during the tournament, but she did not seem to recognize him as her older brother, and even tried to kill him, but she eventually hesitated and withdrew. Jacky took another year off from his racing career and began training in martial arts full-time as a Jeet Kune Do instructor. Determined to rescue his sister with his newly improved skills, he enters the second World Fighting Tournament. This time, he would be successful in rescuing Sarah from J6, and he learned that she had been brainwashed by them and programmed to kill him. Abandoning the rest of the tournament, he used his financial resources in an attempt to reverse the effects of her brainwashing, but was only partially successful. While no longer directly under J6 control, she suffered from amnesia due to prolonged psychological trauma and no longer remembered who Jacky was. To his dismay, she felt uncomfortable living with or near a brother that she did not remember and moved away to an apartment in New York. Ever the protective older brother, Jacky kept tabs on her, and when he learned that she had decided to enter the Third World Fighting Tournament, he followed suit in order to offer his protection. Jacky was defeated in this tournament as well, but this didn't bother him since Sarah had finally regained all of her memories in the heat of battle. After this, he felt no need to continue training and decided to resume his racing career. This time, he would employ the Bryant Special Forces organization to protect Sarah from any further attack, and felt confident that he could cut his losses and return to life as usual. However, Jacky began having trouble getting sponsors for his racing team. Or, more accurately, every time a sponsorship was secured, his new business partners would be killed by J6 operatives, effectively crippling his racing career. Furious at these developments, Jacky would enter the Fourth World Fighting Tournament in an attempt to end J6's meddling in his life. Although Jacky had resumed his training, his rage at J6 had allowed them to goad him into entering the Fourth World Fighting Tournament and distract him from their true motives. Vanessa Lewis, the member of the Bryant Special Forces in charge of protecting Sarah, had gone missing. His anger had left himself and his sister vulnerable to attack. Though he was able to defeat the J6 assassin Go Hinagami, he was unable to completely finish off the J6. With Vanessa Lewis rescued by a double agent, but suffering from dissociative amnesia and continual series of incidents associated with sponsorship pullouts and improbable mechanical breakdowns, Jacky has finally had enough. The J6 Syndicate has tried to end his life, ruin his relationship with his sister, and constantly disrupts his career. Though he never wanted this fight and has always wanted to live out his life on his own terms, he finally decides to embrace his role as the untiring enemy of the J6 Syndicate. Just as he realized that destroying them would be the only way he and Sarah would ever be free, an invitation arrives for the 5th World Fighting Tournament. Jacky Bryant is considered to be a character requiring an intermediate level of skill to utilize. He focuses on speedy strikes and high-pressure offense. A good example of this would be his lightning kick attack. It really is faster than lightning. His flash sword kick, while difficult to master, is a great asset to players who can pull it off. He utilizes specific moves borrowed from Bruce Lee, such as trapping his opponent's arms to deliver a 1-inch punch.
What? Got it. That was so cool!
And also makes use of his signature somersault kick, which strikes fear in the hearts of even the most seasoned fighting veterans.
Somersault kick! Somersault kick requires well-timed, quick, nimble movements of the legs and hips. This move can only be executed by someone capable of coordinating both maneuvers. It is a high-level technique of Jeet Kune Do.
He is also capable of some powerful grappling attacks, such as the Northern Light Bomb. Northern Light Bomb! Northern Light Bomb is a powerful throwing technique. The opponent is lifted up and dropped on his head. The unusually long time it takes to execute this move has strong psychological effects on the opponent. Because this move renders the opponent immobile, it is possible to follow immediately with another move. Depending on how the opponent is dropped, this single move can be terminable. With Jacky's status as the original main character of the Virtua Fighter series, it actually makes sense that the responsibility falls on him to eliminate the main antagonist of the series, the J6 Syndicate. Jacky's moveset and backstory are why he is deservedly considered to be one of the most highly regarded fighting game characters of all time.
My name is Jacky Bryant.
If you've been waiting since the last video for this edition of Virtua Fighter Lore, I'd like to thank you for your patience. And whether you've been looking forward to this installment or are just stopping by, I hope you enjoyed watching. If you would like to see more videos like this one, please let me know by leaving a like or comment below on which character you would like to see in an upcoming video. With that, I'm going to bring this video to a close. Everyone, please be safe and take care until I see you again in the next video.